Once again, good evening, everyone who is joining us. We see that there are still people logging in, so we're going to give it another minute or so to give everyone a chance to log in, and we will get started.
Do we want to get started at 6:33 and give it 2 more minutes?
We'll give it another couple of minutes and we will begin. As folks continue to join us. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Ms. Salazar, I think we're ready to go.
Perfect. Okay, so welcome to the class of 2022 Parent and Student College and Career Planning Night. Thank you guys for joining us. I am Lisa Salazar, the coordinator of College and Career Counseling. Throughout the presentation, be sure to have a pen and paper or your phone close by, as you may want to take notes or even take pictures of some of the screens. You will also see some QR codes throughout the presentation that can be scanned if you'd like more information on a particular topic. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and not the chat. That way we can answer your specific question in order. So this presentation will also be made available in Canvas and on the high school website. So that way if you need to refer back to it, you're more than welcome to. So I guess we are ready to get started.
First thing that we want to do tonight is introduce you to the class of 2022 team. This is the 11th grade team, and you will see Mr. Gertz, Miss Williams, Mr. Shelby, and also your school social worker for the 11th grade team is Miss Shannon. Also on the 11th grade team, you have an assistant principal and you have a dean. Miss Palacios is the assistant principal who leads the 11th grade team, and Mr. McKinney, who is the dean for the 11th grade team. I am Miss Dickerson, by the way. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Miss Dickerson. I am the counseling director. And I'd like to say again, welcome and thank you for being here tonight.
Well, welcome students and parents. It's a pleasure to present to you guys this evening, and thank you. Our numbers, we're really excited to see the number of participants continue to grow as this is important information, and we really are excited that you guys came out to get this information as we plan to prepare for your future. As you'll see here on this slide, we have 3 main goals at North Central for all of our students. First goal is we want you to earn a high school diploma. As you can see here, there are 6 different types of diplomas that you can earn from North Central. So you'll be working with your counselor on making sure you are staying on track to completing the requirements for the diploma type that you are choosing to work for. Number two, we absolutely want you to get some type of post-secondary credential, whether that's earning a certificate or earning a degree from college or some type of apprenticeship or joining the military, whatever that may be. Any of those opportunities are going to set you up for goal number three is really we just want you to be able to earn a sustaining wage that you will be able to support yourself and perhaps in the future also your own family. Academic planning. I know this is a very hot topic right now amongst junior students, actually all students, but great news. Want you to know that this is coming up very soon. In fact, in the next couple of weeks when we return back from Thanksgiving break. As juniors, this will be the last time you'll be going through this process as you prepare to select your courses for the senior year, wrapping up your high school career and preparing for the next step after high school. There's going to be a video presentation first that will be rolled out in your classes, and then after that there will be an opportunity to meet individually one-on-one with your counselors, of course being all virtual. Those meetings will happen via Zoom or Google Meet, and you will be contacted by your counselor to be able to set those up. But you guys will have an opportunity to discuss with us, to review your courses for the senior year. Again, making sure that you're staying on track for the diploma type of your choosing. Also being able to select courses and electives that will help get you prepared for your post-secondary career options. Now, we know a lot of things tonight are related to college, but it's also career planning. It does not have to be a four-year college that you are planning for immediately after high school. Well, if I'm not going to go straight to college, Ms. Williams, what can I do? What are some of my options? I'm so glad you asked that question. There is free job training in this lovely state of Indiana that we live in. So if you're ready to take that next step to get some work readiness, to get an apprenticeship opportunities and getting ready to get you directly into some of the work fields or a path to some job training so you can definitely earn a higher wage rather than just working at a regular job. There are some free statewide training opportunities through the Workforce Ready Grant. In the Workforce Ready Grant, as you'll see here, there are 5 top highly in demand careers that the state is saying, hey, we need people in these fields, so we are willing to pay for their training so that we can keep and get people into these work areas. So lots of young people are ready to take advantage of these opportunities. Lots of things are hands-on and definitely are picking into different electives and different ideas of what you may like. As you see here across the screen, we have advanced manufacturing, building and construction, health and life sciences, IT and business services, as well as health, transportation and logistics. So any of these choices, you can also look at the Scan Me, the QR code down there at the bottom of the page. I know we're going through these pretty quickly, but definitely take your phone. You can scan that and go directly to the Next Level Jobs website, or you can just write that down and refer to that website later. That has more detailed information about the Workforce Ready Grant and the opportunities that you could have in pursuing further education and training in any of these 5 fields. Apprenticeship and trade programs also offer some great opportunities for students beyond high school. So it's still going to take a little bit more learning after you graduate, but perhaps not as much as if you're going for the 4-year college degree. Definitely within sometimes a few short months, sometimes just a year or so, but get you an opportunity to start working and getting paid while you're still learning and training into those different programs for those particular jobs. So you can see there are a variety of options there. Again, there's the QR code in the lower right-hand corner that you can scan, or check out ivtech.edu/apprenticeships for other opportunities that will be available through some of their programs. So again, guys, just keeping in mind, there is a path for you. If it's not going directly to college, we've got apprenticeship, workforce training for free, and military or other opportunities. So we're happy to look forward to discussing those things further with you to figure out your individual plan on your path to success.
All right, thank you, Ms. Dickerson, and for introducing the class of 2022 team, and Ms. Williams for introducing us to academic planning that is coming up, and introducing us to the Workforce Ready Grant and apprenticeships and trade programs. We are now going to transition to talking about college, followed by our college panel, who will tell us what they're looking for in excellent candidates. All right, so it's super important that you get organized, as this can be an overwhelming process. You should be researching college options, as well as begin to narrow down your college list. Visiting campuses, either in person or virtually, may help you narrow your college list. In addition, you should be looking at college requirements for admission. So remember, college admission requirements are different than high school graduation requirements. So while many schools are now test optional, you still need to decide whether or not your student will be taking the SAT or the ACT. Remember, if you are a 21st century scholar, that taking the SAT or the ACT is a requirement. Students can also start working on their resume. On the resume will be activities and achievements that you've earned throughout high school. Naviance has a great resume feature. You also want to plan to take challenging classes during your senior year. So you can consider job shadowing, informational interviews, JEL classes, or internships to help you learn about careers. You also need to think about any special requirements such as NCAA eligibility, any art portfolios, and performance auditions. So while many schools are test optional, we still want to make sure that you're aware of the upcoming test dates for the SAT and the ACT. You can scan the QR codes to get to either website. And remember, registration must be done online. If you qualify for a fee waiver, students can email Mrs. Abbott, who's in the counseling office, and her email address is on the screen for you guys. So what are colleges looking for? Colleges look at multiple things when determining fit: course rigor, class rank and GPA, volunteer and work experience, talents and passions, leadership roles, extracurricular activities, a well-written essay, and if submitted, standardized test scores. So you can see that it is not just one thing that will get you into a school. We are lucky enough tonight to have college representatives from Butler, the University of Michigan, Purdue, and IU, who will talk with us more about what they're looking for in good candidates in their school specifically and in all schools in general. So again, remember that each college is going to have different requirements for their admission, and they might require certain courses. So remember, these are going to be different than high school diploma requirements, which is why we want you to start researching your schools now to ensure that you are taking the correct classes that will get you into the schools that you're thinking about. So paying for college, we know that this is a very important topic for our students and for our parents. So I did want to let you know that we are going to have a junior financial aid night this spring, and it'll actually be on February 2nd. It'll be virtual, where they will go into more depth of what it's going to take to help pay for college. So what is financial aid? How do you qualify for financial aid? When should you do the FAFSA? So that is going to be a great presentation, again, for juniors. It'll be on February 2nd, and they will talk to you about grants, scholarship opportunities, work study programs, and federal loans. So they'll make sure that you know all the ins and outs of paying for college. '21st century scholars. So if you or your student is a 21st century scholar and you need to get to the website, you can scan the QR code. Students must have gotten registered during their 7th or 8th grade year. If you are unsure if you or your student is a 21st century scholar, please email your counselor. Provided you complete all of your activities and you still qualify financially, this scholarship covers tuition at a public Indiana college. So you definitely want to make sure that you are looking at this if you are a 21st century scholar. Chances are many of your students have already done a lot of these activities and they just haven't gone into their ScholarTrack account to log in. So for example, creating a graduation plan. That is something that all freshmen did with their counselor in the fall of their freshman year. So that is one thing that we know your students can check off right now. Visiting a college campus, we just talked about that as you guys are researching schools. So you can visit in person if the campus is allowing in-person visits, or you can even do some virtual visits. So we encourage you guys to start looking at different schools. I believe I've sent out a couple different college fairs for you guys. So attending those is a great opportunity as well because it'll allow you to talk with many different representatives. And as soon as I'm aware of more, we will make sure that we send them out to all of you. So Naviance Student. Naviance Student provides students and parents a multitude of resources to assist in the college and career research process. So college profiles, acceptance history, transcript and letter of recommendation requests, career inventories, and resume builders are a few of the many tools that are available in Naviance for you guys. So how do you get to Naviance? There are two different ways that you can get to Naviance. You can go to the high school website, select for families, then select the counseling tab, and then it'll open up your next screen over here where you'll see Naviance on the right-hand side. You can also go to the counseling canvas page. If you select college and career, you will then be able to select Naviance and it'll take you right to your Naviance account. So let's talk about getting logged in. So this is the part where it gets a little bit confusing. So I do want to make sure that you guys write this down or take a picture of this screen because again, it does get a little bit confusing. So all Naviance student usernames are their student ID numbers. So everybody's username is going to be the student ID number. If your email address is already in Naviance, so you may say, how do I know if my email address is in Naviance already? Well, if you received my email about the parent and student night, then that means we have your email. If only the parent received my email and the student did not, then that means we do not yet have the student. So that is how you'll know whether or not we have your student's email in Naviance. So again, if the student email address is already in Naviance and they have not yet logged into Naviance this year, what you need to do is select Forgot Password. You will then receive a temporary password to your email address. You do want to make sure you check your spam folder if you do not receive the email, because sometimes it goes into the spam folder. If you do not have an email address in Naviance, which means students are not receiving my emails just yet. So parents, ask your child, did you receive Ms. Salazar's email? If no, then that means we don't have it just yet. So what we need you to do is fill out the Naviance email survey, which I will send out again later this week. Please put in your student's information, student email, and we will make sure we get it added into Naviance for them. Once we get their email address added into Naviance, then they will then be able to go back to step 1 of selecting Forgot Password and then waiting to receive the temporary password. So again, this part, it gets a little bit confusing. Last year, Naviance decided to change everything on us and take away our password abilities. So that is what's making it a little bit harder. But again, we want to make sure that your student is getting in there. There's lots of great material for them to be looking at, as well as to help them start planning. All right. So just going over what is in Naviance. So you have 4 main tabs. There's the home screen, which will have different welcome messages for your students. If we have any tasks or to-do items for your student, that's where they'll see that, is on the home screen. They'll see the My Favorites section. They'll see what's new. So when we do have college reps that are presenting virtually, they can find that information under What's New. Under Document Resources, which is going to be way on the bottom of the home screen, is where students can actually see what scholarships are posted for seniors. So the juniors can't necessarily apply for them just yet, but it doesn't mean you can't start looking at them to see what you might be able to apply for next year during the senior year. Under the Colleges tab, lots of great resources here. There's Supermatch, which allows you to compare different schools side by side based on your important criteria. So you could put in criteria that is 100% important to you. You can put in that it's somewhat important, and it'll start generating a list of schools for you. You can decide by major, you can decide by state, by region. There are so many different features there. That Supermatch is a really great tool. Then there's also the Scattergrams feature. The Scattergrams feature is where you can actually compare yourself to other North Central students that have already applied to the same school that you're looking at. So you'll be able to see where you fall on the graph to determine whether or not you would be a good fit for that school. Now, it's not going to be 100% guarantee that you would get in or you wouldn't get in, but it at least lets you see where you are, and then maybe you can readjust what you're going to do moving forward. Do you need to study more? Do you need to, take the SAT or the ACT? Do you need to try to raise that GPA? So that Scattergrams feature is really, really good. And scholarships and money, the college and career visits, that can also be found under the colleges tab. Then there is the careers tab. So here's where you can actually explore different careers. You can explore career clusters. You can also watch short videos under Road Trip Nation. So if you're interested in a particular field, some of the videos are 30 seconds long, some of them are 2 minutes long, and I believe there are thousands of videos that are here in Road Trip Nation under the careers tab for you guys. So you can check out any one of those videos. There are also some different career assessments. There's the Career Key, the Strengths Explorer, and the Career Interest Profiler. So if you're not sure what you want to do, taking one of these interest inventories could help you start to get an idea of what you might be interested in and what you might want to potentially major in. Or maybe you're on the opposite side of the spectrum and you say, I know with 100% certainty, this is what I want to do after high school. I still think taking the interest inventory would be a great idea because maybe it'll solidify what you've already been thinking, or maybe it might give you some additional ideas of some different opportunities that you might not have thought of before. So again, definitely take one of those interest inventories. I believe they only take about 10 or 15 minutes to do. And again, it'll start giving you ideas. You can look at major, it'll show you what schools have those majors, it'll show you what wages you could earn, and it really goes into great detail for you guys. Lastly, there's the About Me section. So that's where you can actually look at your account and you can update your email address in there. So if you were to change your email later on, you can actually update it there. So that way we have your most up-to-date email. If you want to start working on your resume, so that way you can kind of get all of your activities and your leadership roles or any extracurricular activities all in one spot, that resume feature is a great tool to use. If you need a letter of recommendation during your senior year, chances are that teacher is going to ask for a resume. So working on that now is a great idea. If you've taken the SAT or the ACT, you can actually add in your test scores because that again will also allow you to see where you fall on that scattergram feature. You can favorite colleges you're thinking about, and you also have a journal option there. So again, great features that Naviance Student has for you guys. We just want to make sure that you get logged in, and I will again send out that survey later this week to be sure that we get your student's email address into Naviance. All right, so senior year is just around the corner. So I know you're probably thinking, well, I'm trying to make sure I get through this semester and I've still got one more, but it is so important to start thinking about senior year. So we're going to touch briefly on different items that you guys will be having coming up because again, you're going to blink and all of a sudden it's going to be August of your senior year. All right, so 2,229. That is the number of applications that the counselors processed by the November 1 priority deadline. So many colleges have a November 1 priority deadline, which you'll hear us talk a lot about that in the fall of the senior year. But again, I just wanted you guys to see just how many applications the counselors processed in that short amount of time. 398. That is the number of different colleges and universities that the class of 2021 has applied to. So we know you guys are going to be super busy. We want you to be organized. We want you to be on top of it. But we also want you to know that we are going to be with you along the way. So we know that it can be overwhelming. You can see right here on the screen that you guys are going to be busy, but we will be with you to help you and make sure that you guys know what to do every step of the way. All right, so let's get a brief introduction to the college application process. So again, Naviance is essential. We really want to make sure that your student is getting logged in now because they will be using it for sure come senior year. So here is a brief outline again. August 1st is when most college applications will become available and students will apply online. In early August, we will have a senior parent and student college planning night where we will actually go over the college application process in detail. We will also do English classroom visits where we will go over the application again in detail. So we do the parent and student night, plus we do the English visits. So obviously this fall looked a little bit different. We had virtual parent night and we had virtual English classroom visits. But again, we are going to ensure that whether it's virtual or in person, that we are getting this information to you guys. August 19th. So you may say again, well, it's only November. Why am I thinking about this? And it's going to come very fast and we just want to make sure that you guys are ready. So August 19th is when counselors will begin processing college applications. Again, just kind of have it in the back of your mind of that is when counselors will be processing. From mid-August to November, counselors will meet individually with seniors to discuss post-secondary planning. So again, they'll go over the college application process, any questions your student might have, just, again, reassuring and helping along the way. Again, we don't know if it'll be in person or virtual, but we are going to make sure we are there and available for your students. October 1st is going to be when we have a big deadline for colleges that have a November 1 priority deadline. Again, I'm just introducing you to the process because I want to make you aware of the different things that are going to be coming your way come the beginning of senior year. And then we also offer help sessions. So this fall, we had a lot of Zoom office hours to be able to assist students with any college questions, any FAFSA questions. We offered office hours during the day, in the middle of the day, at the end of the day, just to kind of ensure that we were reaching as many students as possible because we know a lot of seniors have a study hall or early release. So we offered staggered office hours to ensure that we were available to your student with any questions they might have had. All right, so again, a lot of detail right here, but keep in mind, we will do this all over again and we will go into greater detail in the fall of the senior year. But we just wanted you to start thinking and planning because again, it's super, super important that you guys are staying organized. All right, so the North Central College Application Book. In this application book, which it's not, the 2022 book is not published just yet, but if you look online, you can actually find the 2021 book. But the 2022 is coming out. We should hopefully have it by the end of the semester for you guys. And it'll have class of 2020 college admit statistics for you guys. It'll have step-by-step directions to requesting transcripts in Naviance and how to match your Common App and Naviance. We will also have information on how college applications are evaluated. We'll have a college planning checklist so that way you can kind of stay organized. And we'll have the different application roles and responsibilities for the student, for the parent, for the counselors. Ultimately, we want the student to take the lead with some parent assistance because we know that it can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming, but we want the student to take the lead and we want to make sure we're providing you guys with all the materials that you'll need to ensure that you guys have a smooth process. All right, so before we get started with the college panel, Ms. Dickerson, Mr. Gertz, Mr. Shelby, or Ms. Williams, did we have any common questions that we received throughout the presentation?
There are a number of questions about Naviance. So, and I know that the whole password question is a little confusing. So we'll have a talk with Naviance about that. But if you do not have an email, and please make sure that is your own students, your own personal email, that is what we need. So if you have a Gmail account or iCloud or whatever, an account that you use, That is the email account that we need. So when Ms. Salazar sends out the notification, that's the email account that we need. So if you don't have one, go ahead and set up a Gmail or whatever account to use, your own personal email. This is the account that you're going to use throughout the process. So when colleges want to contact you, that's what they're going to use. They're going to email you. So if you do not already have one, that is the account. Go ahead and establish your own personal student, your own personal email account. If you don't know, we'll just make this easy. If you don't know whether you have an account in Naviance right now, just email your counselor and say, am I in, that's okay, am I in Naviance? We'll just make this easy. We can check, okay? If you don't have an email account, just go ahead and set one up. And when you get that notification, just send us your email and we'll take care of it. If you already have one and you put that in and you don't know what your password is, you have an email account already, click that forgot password, you'll get a temporary one, okay? I know that's a little bit confusing, but we'll get you through it. And once you get in, you're gonna love Naviance, okay? All of this password confusion is worth it, all right? Hopefully that clears it up a little bit. And if it doesn't, you can email me. That's fine, I'll be happy to help you. Okay, we'll move on because we've got a lot to get through tonight. Thank you.
So any other questions that popped up quite a bit, or was it mostly just Naviance?
I did have a question about the college application book, where it can be found. And so
The college application book, again, this is the 2022 cover, which again is not published just yet, but the 2021 college application book can be found in the Canvas page, or on the Canvas page, and on the high school website. So under the counseling page. So it can be found in 2 spots.
There was one question in regard to some financial aid information. So if you want to address that.
So again, with the financial aid night, we are doing that on February 2nd. So that will be presented by Invested, where they will actually go over what is financial aid. So the grants, scholarship opportunities, work study, federal loans, they will go into that whole entire process for you guys. They'll talk about the FAFSA, when you should be filing it. So again, you may be like, oh, I want to get a jump start. Unfortunately, you cannot file it during your junior year. You have to wait until senior year. But that will be on February 2nd. It's going to be a virtual presentation, and we will make sure to provide you guys with that information as we get closer to our junior financial aid night. All right, so are our panelists here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, thank you for listening to our presentation portion. And I know you guys are very excited to hear from our college panel. So we do have a list of questions that parents and students have already submitted, but we'll also be monitoring the Q&A feature for any additional questions you may have throughout this portion of the presentation. So Mr. Shelby and Mr. Gertz will be moderating the college panel portion. Panel members, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then we will go ahead and get started with questions.
I will go ahead and start since I think I was listed there first on the list. My name is Whitney Ramsey, and I am first and foremost a proud North Central grad, but I am an assistant director of admission at Butler University.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Campbell. I'm an admissions counselor at the University of Michigan.
Hey everybody, I'm James Crawley. I'm an assistant director of admissions at Purdue.
Hi everyone, my name is Matt Gillum and I'm a senior assistant director of admissions at Indiana University.
thank you for joining us this evening. I'm going to begin, and the first question that we have, what can our juniors be doing right now to prep for their senior year in their college applications? And who's going to be the lucky one to go first? Let's start with you, Matt, since you're on my screen, and then we can just move through. If he misses some points, you guys can add to that. So go ahead.
I'm sure I will miss several points, so they will have a lot to fill
And
in.
we won't call you out for it, Matt, I promise.
Well, thank you all for having me. Hope you all are doing well here in your junior year. I know it's been a little bit of a crazy year for everyone, but wishing you and your families all the best. Junior year is a great time, I would say, to start your exploration in terms of your college search. So really, taking a look at some universities that you might have an interest in, looking for universities that offer programs that you're interested in as well. Normally I would say visiting those universities. Right now that can be a challenge, where not every university is offering in-person visits, but taking advantage of all the virtual visit options that we have. I know, probably most of the schools that you're going to be hearing from tonight are going to have some type of virtual option for you, whether that's a virtual tour, an information session, a specific academic information session. So this really, I think, is the year to start building your list, and really, kind of narrowing in on some of those schools that you're most interested in, so that your application process next year is that much easier.
And this really is the question, especially with the very fun, totally normal 8 months that y'all have had. What do you do to prepare? And I don't want to speak for Matt or Whitney or Andrew here, but we all, as admissions counselors, you guys have already seen, based on what's happened so far, how hard your high school counselors are working for you. We all have a very, very close-knit community at our level too, where we just want to make sure that across the board, you guys are going to a school that is a good fit. And so as Matt was saying, the normal things like being able to visit schools in person, maybe not as reliable this year, but reaching out to any counselor you may know from any school to really help you use your resources and advocate for yourself. That's really one of the best things you can start doing as a junior, is reaching out, making that first contact, and just being a little bit intentional in your search before your search even really begins in earnest.
I would also add, trying to kind of focus on your coursework as much as you can. Again, I know there's some extenuating circumstances, to put it mildly. But when you think about applying to colleges, a lot of students are like, I'm kind of coasting senior year. I'm going to hit it hard so that colleges know I'm serious. Well, a lot of times when you're applying with your transcript, almost always, we're seeing a transcript that just contains your freshman, sophomore, and junior years of grades. And so now is the time to kind of hit it hard. Again, we know there's a lot going on, and we're mindful of that when we look at, maybe bumps in the grade road, et cetera. But making sure that you are focusing as much as possible on your coursework, because again, these are going to be kind of the most recent grades into the spring, at least, that we see on your transcript.
I agree with all of that. So I'll just say ditto. But to add, I think, as you think about moving into senior year, really take advantage of each and every opportunity that you have available to you, with the courses that you're going to be taking in 12th grade, with hopefully your extracurricular activities will return to some semblance of normalcy, and you can really enjoy that. So take advantage of those opportunities while you have them. Ask questions, please reach out if you need help or just kind of want to explore, because as has been said, now is a great time to really start.
Thank you. I think you guys covered it very well. Thank you.
Okay, our next question, and it's kind of twofold. Why is it important to have a strong academic schedule your senior year? And the second part, and more specifically, what kind of coursework are you looking at for the most competitive programs in your admissions?
So this is you may not have thought of it this way thus far up into your junior year, but if college is the route that you're looking for after high school as your post-secondary plan, what we would really encourage you to start thinking about is high school and college on an 8-year track. Think of it as an 8-year. I know you don't want to think about high school extending for 4 more years, but college is that next step for those that are likely here or looking to go that route. So if you think of it as an 8-year track, your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior into freshman, sophomore, junior, senior of college, it really doesn't make sense for you to slack off suddenly in your fourth year and not challenge yourself, and then expect to do well in your fifth year as you're navigating a tumultuous transition to another location. So if you really need any kind of encouragement to continue challenging yourself, not only do we see those classes you're taking, but just for your own benefit, going from your fourth year to your fifth year, having done a very light load to a heavy load, that's not really something that behooves students in most cases.
I would say this is kind of something that's become more and more apparent is as students struggle to kind of balance maintaining a decent GPA, but also taking advantage of challenging coursework that's available to them. And certainly there's a lot of challenging coursework available to you at North Central. And so I think as you start to think about and daydream and explore what that course of study might be for you, and that doesn't mean you have to know, but as you kind of gather a general idea, choose to challenge yourself in the areas where you're thinking of studying, right? So if you're a junior, you're looking at senior year, maybe you don't have to take every AP course that's offered. But if you're thinking about something in science, in math, in STEM, when you go to college, then maybe choose to challenge yourself in those AP STEM courses, right? Or if you're planning on studying English in college, maybe make sure to challenge yourself in an AP English course. Again, if you change your mind midstream, that's okay. You're the better for having been in that AP English class, for example, but choose to challenge yourself in a way that's meaningful for whatever that next step is.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off what Whitney said, you know, we do want to see students who are taking challenging courses. So, you know, for you, if that means taking a few AP classes, that's great. If it means taking an honors course, that's great. Whatever it looks like to you. And, you know, we would rather see students that are, you know, maybe taking one AP class, doing really well in it, than taking 5 AP classes and, you know, getting D's and C's. So I would be cognizant of, you know, challenging yourself, but also challenging yourself in a way that's going to allow you to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. We are often asked, you know, is it better for a student to take just a standard class and receive an A, or take maybe an AP class and get a B? And truthfully, the best option here is to take the AP class and get an A. But really, it is, you know, that balance between challenging yourself and succeeding academically in those areas of your strength and or interest. So definitely encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities as you have them, as you move into senior year and you start thinking about college. We want to see that students have, you know, taken advantage of that advanced coursework and really tried to push themselves. But as Whitney said, you know, it's not necessary to take every single AP class your high school offers in order to be a competitive applicant.
I'd like to dig into the nitty gritty a little bit about the kind of courses that students should be taking. A lot of times the engineering students, the computer science students, they should be scheduling certain classes that put them in a position so they're competitive. Kind of speak to that, and what should students really be looking to take from the math and the science standpoint to really position themselves well for potential admissions into the school.
That's a good segue from the last question, actually. I was just going to add on to what Andrew was saying, where you really don't have to, and what Whitney said too, you do not have to take every single AP class that your school offers senior year. And to Matt's point, we would rather you be getting good grades, maybe in a couple of them, than getting C's and D's in the 7 that you chose to take. Specifically for engineering and computer science, at least at Purdue, and for those that also have it, I know Michigan does too. AP Calc is going to be a better route your senior year if you're at that level than, say, an AP Statistics or finite mathematics. AP Calc is really going to be the best way for you to hit the ground running. Most engineering programs will have Calc 1 standard as their first semester math class. And then again, specifically for Purdue, but likely for other engineering and more STEM based programs as well. When it comes to lab science, we really want to see that you continue challenging yourself with the core physical sciences, biology, chemistry, physics, environmental sciences there as well, but really the biochem and physics are going to be your three main tripod physical sciences. Classes like Project Lead the Way, some of the other more maybe they get you in the mindset of engineers, maybe you get some hands-on experience. Those are great supplemental classes, but they really should not be your core science classes up into senior year. We'd much rather see you take something like AP Chem, AP Physics if you can, or an AP Bio if that's your interest, than something like a Project Lead the Way class.
Yeah, I will echo that 100%. At the University of Michigan, we're looking for students to take at least 4 of those core academic courses each year of high school. Certainly for the College of Engineering, specifically AP Calc, AP Chemistry, and AP Physics would definitely be your best bet and kind of the way to go there. It's perfectly fine with us if you want to explore some of those electives, Project Lead the Way, some of those other opportunities, but you definitely want to make sure you have at least 4 of those core academic courses with chemistry, calculus, and physics, if at all possible.
In terms of math at IU, we require 7 semesters of mathematics, with one of those semesters being either pre-calculus or trigonometry. And while our academic schools don't have necessarily requirements beyond that, I do encourage students that are interested in, some of our informatics, computer programs, intelligent systems engineering, any kind of science or math disciplines at IU to go beyond that and, take that full year of pre-calc, even a year of calculus if you're able to.
Okay, we've had another question that popped up in the Q&A, which was kind of interesting. I know you in admissions are dealing with the COVID like everybody else. How do you see the pandemic of COVID extending into next year and looking at applications and, things like that? I know that's kind of like predicting the future, but obviously we're all going to get an opportunity to predict a little bit of that future.
Yeah, I
think we could all talk about this for like an hour. Go ahead, guys.
This is a dissertation.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, it's tough to predict, right? We're trying to make sure we have a handle on getting our students through next Tuesday when they head home. I will say a lot of kind of vendors on the higher ed side. So I'm thinking of Common App specifically, which many of you may use to apply. They've been proactive in allowing a space. I think it's titled like Community Disruption. And it's an opportunity for you to really elaborate on challenges that you faced during COVID, whether those are academic, whether those are, personal. And so that's been some great insight into how students have found a silver lining in the pandemic. So I definitely recommend using that if that resonates with you.
This is a very human process, and I think COVID has really just exacerbated that on our end. We are considering, in the context of COVID, in almost every part of our application review, and I know many schools are, all I would suggest is not only taking advantage of the community disruption areas on Common App, if other apps that you're using have something like that too, even if there's not something designated for COVID, most applications will have a section that's titled additional information. We're not going to know if we see some bad grades, even before COVID. If we see some bad grades and they have no context or explanation, we don't really have much to go off of in terms of how to think about them. So along with COVID, it is obviously the most prescient crisis that we're all going through, but we know that many of you have been through other crises before that. So we're not going to pity you. We're not going to judge you. We just want the context of those kind of events on the application, especially if they explain some of your bad grades. So those and COVID, I think, are all going to be looked at with that human element in a lot of these schools' reviews.
If I can, there was a parent that asked a question. There's a lot of talk about, AB students and students that are, taking AP classes, but what type of hope can you provide to those students who are not AP honors classes, and what type of support systems are available on your campuses for students once they get there to continue to make that transition and start getting traction towards success at the next level?
Where do you start? There's quite a few. And this is where, going back to the first question that was asked, what can you guys be doing as juniors? Really start looking for opportunities to advocate for yourself, to really start asking for help when you need it from the resources that are presented to you, coming to things like this. I mean, Purdue has things for 21st century scholars, for students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, for all students, just with supplemental instruction, peer mentoring, tutoring. And those are all pretty common things on most of, I know at least for our 4 campuses. There's so much out there for you. But if you never reach out, if you never ask an advisor or a mentor, it's really hard to get you connected with those. So, I mean, if anybody else, I don't want to speak for all of us on those resources. There's so many, but advocating for yourself is one of the best ways to find them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And one piece of advice I would give too is to seek out help, maybe even before that you know that you need it, if that's possible. So, you don't have to be failing a class to go, to the tutoring center and get help. If you're getting a C in a class and you're used to getting A's or B's, or you just want an A or B, go and get the help then, because those centers are not just designed to help students that are failing courses. They're designed to help students be more successful and reach that goal that they're looking for as well.
I think too, I mean, to get at the first part of your question, there's plenty of hope for students who aren't taking honors, AP, even if they're offered, right? In a lot of cases, depending on what you're looking at, certainly, as I shared via chat and we heard a little bit talked about in some of the STEM fields, it's great to see students challenging themselves. But a lot of times 3 years of math is 3 years of math, right? That's sufficient for what you want to be studying. Doesn't matter if it was regular. Again, we take that into consideration, kind of have you challenge yourself, et cetera. But again, we want you to balance that with your GPA. So maybe AP math is just not for you, right? So I don't think there's any right number of AP classes. If you're taking all regular classes, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be a competitive candidate.
I think it's important to add on here that there is so much support for students, of course, academic support, but also social and emotional support as you're making this huge transition to college, especially at a time like this. Whether it is dealing with food insecurity, mental health challenges at home with your family, whatever it may be, there is just so much support there for you. And as has been said, all you have to do is reach out and ask. So I definitely encourage all of you to keep that in mind.
And you don't even have to know where everything is. You just have to know one person who knows where everything is.
Yeah. And going on, there's also something even deeper than that too, because to go back to this question about AB students or students who are taking AP classes versus those who are taking regular, I'm assuming that most of the juniors who are on this call have never been to college before. It's just an assumption, but that is a very tumultuous transition. And even the AB students who are used to getting A's and B's in AP classes, they might struggle when they get there. To Andrew's point, looking for resources that have that emotional or mental health component to them. Resetting your expectations when you go to college is really something I would encourage all of you to do, because even if you are getting A's and B's in high school, but you had a really strong support system, you had great counselors, you had a great parent system at home that was able to help you with that. When you go to college and you're on your own for the first time, it might take you a minute to get, things moving. So giving yourself some grace when you get there and setting your expectations to maybe recalibrate what you're doing and who you have to ask for help can be really beneficial.
Another question that we have is, I know that the process of reviewing applications varies from institution to institution, but what are some of the basic things when you're looking at an application that kind of makes a student stand out in your application process? Or what are you looking for that may point to a student being a good fit for your university?
I'll take the low-hanging fruit of, I think, especially in light of everyone going test optional, or most of us going test optional at least, a lot more emphasis has been put on the essay, both from a spelling and grammar perspective, as well as from a pure content perspective of, this is your seat at the admission table. And I want to walk away from that essay with a little bit more of a sense of who you are. I also want to go ahead and say, on the flip side, this may not be the best piece of writing that you ever write, right? It's okay. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. But give us a sense kind of who you are, right? What keeps you going? What keeps you awake at night? What do you find interesting? What do you daydream about? To me, that's a big part of who you are, and your curiosity and whether you'll be a good fit for the campus.
I really like how Whitney put that with, this is your seat at the admissions table, because many of us, especially now in the time of COVID, we can't do interviews, or that's not a part of our admissions process. That essay is the most qualitative piece of your voice that we get to hear. It's really the only time we get to have a conversation with you on the application, mostly. So make sure that whatever you're talking about, that some passion jumps off the page, that if we were having that conversation, if you were reading that word for word in person or somewhat close, that you would be able to have your personality show through. Don't just talk about one person through the context of an event. Make sure you're talking about that person through the context of an event that relates back to some bigger idea, some deeper idea about a value system that you hold dear, a lesson that changed your life, or what got you on the path of the program to which you're asking admission. Really, take your time with it, and don't start it 2 nights before. Don't. If you start it on Halloween, spooky things will happen, guys. Just take a little bit of time. Give yourself a lead start.
This is a small note too in that essay. Be sure you know which school you're writing to. I've read a couple of University of Indiana essays this week, and usually every week. But
so have I.
Same. I was just gonna say.
I get Michigan University, Michigan State University, Ohio State University, and I just want to cry.
Right in the deny pile.
I think students often will get a little too hung up on the numbers, right? So the GPA, the test score, the number of AP classes, and while all of that is certainly important, we really are interested in much more than that. We want to understand who you are as a student, as an individual, as a human being outside the classroom. And that's kind of where, the extracurricular activities, the essays, the letter of recommendation, those all come into play. So we can really get a good sense of who you are, what's important to you, and how is, the institution that you're applying to going to help you achieve your goals and really realize your full potential. So just something to keep in mind.
I would also add, I know it's challenging right now just because we're so limited in, doing any sort of internship, shadow experience, even conversations with family and friends regarding their careers, and the interest you may have in those careers. But I think it certainly helps a student stand out when they have even the slightest experience with, as James put it, sort of the program for which they're asking admission, right? I mean, if you are on the borderline and you're applying to be a Spanish major even. But then I look and you've never taken Spanish. I'm a lot less likely to kind of give you the benefit of the doubt than someone who has consistently taken Spanish. They know that they're interested in it. They know that they like it. And that goes for, again, even the smallest experiences of, conversations with family and friends about their careers, being able to shadow, being part of school clubs and organizations. Again, I know challenging right now, but being part of DECA, being part of HOSA, things that are kind of career related to show us that you know what this career is about. This is a very intentional choice that you're following.
And I just wanted to let you know we have about 5 minutes left, so we do have some more questions that are in the Q&A.
The one that was on there that I thought was interesting, because I get that occasionally from students. It says, what are the thoughts about graduating high school a semester early? And I know I've had a couple students do that and go to IU. So I've gotten that a couple times already this year from juniors.
Yeah, so obviously, it's gonna vary student to student and kind of what situation you're in and what your plans look like. The one thing I will say, I know at least at IU, and I'm sure at most of the other schools here, is that we do still require that you complete those academic courses that we're looking for. Even in that shorter time frame. Whether that means that you're needing to take some courses over a summer or fit them in elsewhere. One thing that I recommend too, if students are in this boat, is to reach out and let your admissions counselor at the universities that you're applying to know that information, because when we get your application coming in, we might see right away that you're missing a year of courses or things like that, and that might prompt us to reach out to you or have to reach out to your counselor. So if you're proactive about that, reaching out, letting us know kind of what your plan is and what course you've been on, that's going to be really helpful.
You guys have any thoughts about students who are considering taking a gap year, study abroad, and how that might affect their application to school?
I would say, certainly we're seeing more students right now. I don't think quite as many as we thought, just because there's not as many experiences to capitalize on during a gap year. But we are seeing, I think, a few more than usual students take some time off. I think I would just recommend, as Matt shared, being in touch with your admission counselor, understanding if you do take a gap year, what the process looks like when you come back, making meaningful time of your time off. And then most importantly, I would say a lot of students now have said they're going to take a gap year, but then they start taking coursework at another institution. That can be a great option, but it can also change how you're viewed through the admission process at the original school that you're trying to get back to, meaning that you may now be interpreted as a transfer student since you've taken a significant amount of coursework at another institution. So again, I think it's just important, whatever your end goal is, wherever you want to make your way back to, even if that's multiple institutions, have those conversations now so you know the do's and don'ts between now and making your way back there.
Whitney is so on top of that. There's so much good info there. Not only with the intentionality, being intentional about what it is you're taking a gap year for or to do, but also make sure that it's something you're running toward and not something you're doing because you're running away from something else. If you're not wanting to go to college for a year because of COVID, there are some instances where that can be a good reason for a gap year if you've already applied somewhere and then decide. But I would not encourage choosing a gap year because you're not really sure and you think, okay, well, that's my option to not really have to do anything. I can push it off for another year. We want to see that you're taking a gap year for a specific experience, some unique opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise, or some service oriented endeavor. I just would really encourage you not to use it as a way to just hold off for a year in this process.
Okay, I have two last quick questions because I know we're getting short on time. But one of them is, do you look at social media?
So we do not. It's just not something that we have the capacity to do in our admissions process. However,
Why do you ask?
each and every year, it is the case that, after admissions decisions are released and everybody is happy with their decision, it's always, 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 without fail, brought to our attention that this, that, or the other thing happened on social media. Oftentimes, it is not a positive thing that has happened on social media. And so there are conversations, there is restorative justice, there's a whole process that looks like it. And it has happened in the past where admission has been revoked. So you just want to be careful with what you're putting out there because you never know what could happen.
Ditto. I've got nothing more to add.
Okay, and
You
then
said
one
it well, Andrew.
quick question is, although some schools are test optional, will the ACT or the SAT be necessary for merit consideration?
So IU did move to test optional this year, and we actually had approved that, had everything in place before the pandemic really took hold. So kind of was an opportune year for that to happen. But we will not require a test score in order for students to be considered for any academic scholarship at IU. You will still have full consideration.
TBD. We're not really sure yet for next year. Andrew, Whitney, I don't know if you guys know either, but this goes back to Matt's point too from earlier. If you are interested in a school and you really think that's the school you want to be at, make sure you're reaching out to your counselor there. Make sure you're looking at their website. We'll try to update that as soon as we know when it comes to the next 2021-2022 cycle for test scores.
Yeah, the process is yet to be determined. For this year's seniors that are applying under the test flexible option, students are not going to be disadvantaged in consideration for merit-based scholarships if they don't submit a test score, because there are so many other factors that are taken into consideration. But next year, no idea. Stay tuned.
Yeah, with Butler, you're not disadvantaged either. You're still eligible for full merit-based or academic scholarships, even without a test score. What we're actually considering, and I'm hopeful this isn't the case, but again, TBD, we've gone completely test optional this year. There's a chance that some of our programs will creep back to require a test score, which was kind of our original plan before COVID. So again, as my colleagues have said, just, stay in touch, make sure you're checking your email because we're pretty quick to communicate any changes in admission and scholarship requirements. This was fun.
Yeah, there's so many questions. I'm just like holding back right now, but I know we're running short on time. Lisa, can I ask one more?
One very quick one.
So hopefully it can be answered very quickly. We have a lot of different admissions deadlines, rolling, early action, regular decision. Once a student applies, when can they expect to receive a decision from the university? And what type of decisions can students receive? I know accepted, denied, and all that. How do those things work? Because it gets very confusing for students, especially when they get put on the wait list. Then they go, what am I supposed to do with that? So.
It's going to be dependent on the school. So we all have different processes, which of course makes it that much harder to keep straight. For Purdue in particular, if a student applies by November 1st, by that early action deadline, they will receive a decision on January 15th, probably at 5:01 p.m. as soon as I turn my phone off. So you can get that through your application status portal. Apply by November 1, get your decision by January 15th.
Very similar for the University of Michigan. This year, our early action deadline is November 15th. So students who apply by that date will hear back no later than the end of January. Fortunately, I don't have a more specific date to share with you all, but it will definitely be by February 1st.
At Butler, our early action deadline is November 1st. We do guarantee a decision by mid-December. I will kind of give a little disclaimer that always gets us at schools like North Central with such large student bodies is we start rolling out our decisions much earlier. So it's possible that you have not heard and you've got a classmate who's heard. That does not mean anything about your application. That simply means we're working through them as quickly as we can, and yours somehow landed in the electronic queue a little bit ahead of somebody else's. So stay calm. Mid-December is when we guarantee a decision by.
I use early action deadline is November 1st, and students hear back no later than January 15th. And then our regular decision deadline is February 1st. Students applying in that window hear back no later than March 15th. Just as Whitney stated, at IU, we practice kind of a modified, what we call rolling admissions. So we start sending out our first admissions decisions usually in mid-October, depending on the year. And once again, if you didn't hear back, the same time that your friend who applied at the same time doesn't mean anything about your application.
If any of you have senior friends right now, you might see them going through this in the next couple of months. But please heed these 6 words. Comparison is the killer of happiness. If you start trying to guess what an early decision 2 hours ahead of time means for you, you're only going to end up in a bad spot. So really mind yourself and do not compare to others in that process.
We are a little bit over time, so I want to say thank you. Thank you to our panelists for being here. Thank you for your answers. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you to all of our guests. Juniors, thank you very much for being here tonight. We've given you a lot of information. Parents, thank you also for being here. Remember, this webinar has been recorded and will be posted. We're going to be in this process with you every step of the way. So we're going to take this step by step. Our goal, as Ms. Williams shared at the very beginning, is for you to have a plan. We want you to graduate, of course. We want you to head off to your next step, whether that is college, whether that is career. But we're going to be with you through this entire process. Again, let me remind you, I know there are still some questions. We're going to do our best. We'll save these questions. We'll do our best to get them answered. Please, Ms. Salazar is going to send out the information about your email. Fill out the information on your email, and we will get you all started. Again, thank you to everyone, and good night.